Hello everyone, welcome back to more 428 Shibuya Scramble. So we're gonna be starting the 12 to 1 o'clock block. Going to Kano. In just a moment. Okay. Kana had been watching syndicate members hand off the attaché case for an hour and a half. He still had no idea where this relay might be headed. The man he was tailing now was about 10 meters away. Close enough that Kano could close the distance and apprehend him at a moment's notice. But his orders remained the same: follow and observe. He watched as the case was handed off once more. By now, the shock of seeing it pass to yet another accomplice had worn off. It's already been 90 minutes, huh? It was Sasayama. At some point, he crept up on Kano from behind. They don't seem like they're trying to get away at all, Kano said. They're just walking. What could they be up to? Sasayama shrugged. Yeah, it's weird. Kano recalled dictum number 89. The more irrelevant something seems, the more relevant it's bound to be. If Tateno's wisdom held true, the Syndicate must have some reason for what it was doing. Were they just trying to throw the investigators off their scent? No, that couldn't be it. They were wandering in circles, staying right in the same area. They were just running up the clock. Huh. What if that's exactly what they were after? Buying time. Kano felt a sudden conviction that he was on the right track. If they needed more time to make sure they got their hands on the ransom payment... Wait, hold on. Could it be that... Could it be... that... the real case had already been switched out? Could it be that the real case had already been switched out? It made a certain amount of sense. By handing the case off to one accomplice after another, they were leading the detectives to pay more attention to the individuals than the case itself. That could enable them to swap the case while all the focus was elsewhere. Kano shared his hunch with Sasayama. I see. I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah, we might be following the wrong case. There was palpable tension in the air now. Kano, Sasayama said, you gotta report into Kuze. On it. Kano's hand flashed to his wireless. But Kuze was dismissive. No, that's the case, I assure you. No offense, sir, but how can you be sure? Kuze sighed. Because that's my job. There's an ID tag in that case that allows us to keep tabs on it. There's no way these crooks could have whipped up a duplicate. ID tag? What ID tag? Wait, no, that's right. Kano had forgotten all about that detail in the wake of his all-nighter. Oh, right. Don't you oh right me. Clearly you weren't hired for your brains. Focus on what you're good at. Kuze ended the call. Still, Kano couldn't shake his conviction that something was off. The man with the attaché case made his way back to Shibuya Station. The heck? Sasayama grumbled. He's right back where we started. Kano felt his frustration growing. It honestly looked like the syndicate was just randomly lugging the case around town. Near Shibuya Station, a girl approached the suspect. She was Japanese and entirely unlike any of the other criminal accomplices. She spoke to the man while showing him something on a notepad. He glanced at the pad but did not slow down. Within moments, he had left her behind. It looked like she just passed him a message. "Well, that's sure fishy," Sasayama muttered. "What, the girl?" asked Kano. "Yeah. Wanna go hit her up?" Sasayama could only mean one thing, questioning her. Watch her be like, "Sainu kudasai!" She can't be involved. She can't be involved with this, can she? She can't be involved with this, can she? Sasayama flashed him a skeptical look. Don't let your preconceptions get the better of you. Could get you killed. I know that, but still, she doesn't come across as involved to me. Kano knew better than to judge people based on appearance, but he was still convinced the girl wasn't part of this gang. She just struck him as far too, well, inept, really. "Alright, I'll go look into the girl," Sasayama said. "You keep following the Itachi case." Kano nodded and hurried after the man. The man's black garb made him stand out in the crowd at the intersection. It occurred to Kano that all the criminals who'd handled the Itachi case had been wearing the same black clothing. That fact made the whole situation even weirder. Could they really be ignorant that they were being followed while they were all wearing the same eye-catching outfit? It was more like they were going out of their way to make sure the investigators spotted them. That still didn't provide any clues as to what they were after, though. The longer Kano kept tailing these guys, the less it all made sense. Was it really such a good idea to keep this up? Someone's life was in danger, and they were just letting the kidnappers carry out their plan, whatever it was. The very first page of the Dick Diary spelled things out loud and clear on the front. On that front. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Right now, the single most important thing was ensuring the hostages' safety. This was a situation where Tateno would have stuck to his guns, for sure. Kano thought back to that day 3 years ago. A burglar had shut himself inside a financial office and doused the place in gasoline. Kano had just been put on police box duty and was ordered to the scene because his box was just down the street from the standoff. Several officers had surrounded the building, keeping close tabs on the situation. The suspect was shouting nonsense through the entrance on the first floor. Things were getting heated. A crowd of alarmed onlookers had started to form as well. "Step aside," a voice said suddenly from amidst the throng. A middle-aged man in a rumpled business suit had approached Kano as he hovered nervously at the edge of the scene. "I'm sorry, sir," Kano said. "You have to stay back, for your own safety." He attempted to usher the man back into the crowd. A no-nonsense look crossed the newcomer's face. He spoke in a low voice. "I'm Detective Tateno from the Shibuya precinct. What's the situation?" "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. Yes, of course." Kano stammered, then quickly explained. "He hasn't taken anyone hostage, but there are still people on the upper floors of the building." Giving only a slight nod, Tateno marched straight up to the building. The plastic container of gasoline the suspect had used was on the ground out front. Tateno picked it up and dumped the remaining contents out over his head. Kano was at a loss for words. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "I've covered myself in gasoline too," Tateno called out from the entryway. The tension in the air ratcheted itself up several notches. "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Kano heard the burglar shouting from inside. "If you're gonna do it, Tateno called out. "We can die together." And he walked into the building. All Kano could do was watch things unfold through the plate glass window. Tateno was talking to the burglar, but Kano couldn't make out the words. The crook was clutching a lighter, his hand trembling. His expression was like that of a frightened child. Tateno slowly approached him and took a firm hold of his shaking hand. The onlookers erupted into cheers and applause. Tateno handed the now docile suspect over to the detectives, then warily sat down against the planter out front. It was like something ripped straight out of a police drama. That was amazing, Kano breathed. You have to deal with guys like that as quickly as you can. You let a situation like this get even a little out of hand, and you never know how things might go south on you. Tateno spoke quietly, almost as if he were talking to himself. As the police evacuated the rest of the building, Kano noticed that there were children and elderly people among them. If the perp had managed to set the fire, there was no way they would have escaped in time. But, I mean, what if he'd actually set the place on fire? If someone's willing to risk their life, you're not going to convince them of anything unless you do the same. Kano still remembered the awe he'd felt at Tateno's matter-of-fact tone. Kano hadn't become a police officer out of any real sense of duty. He just thought it would make Rumi happy if he became a detective like her father. Besides, civil servants tended to stay afloat in times of recession, and his time playing rugby meant he was in good physical shape for the job. He never really thought too much about protecting the citizenry or keeping the peace. But now here he was in the presence of a detective who literally risked his life in the line of duty without a second thought. A police officer never loses sight of what he's supposed to protect. Ever. Getting back to his feet, Tateno tugged off the gasoline-drenched coat and walked away. Sorry. Kano wrote the words in a notebook he just purchased. Thus the Dick Diary was born. Thinking back to the way Tateno had put his life on the line to rescue a bunch of strangers made Kano feel all the more raw about just tailing these syndicate members. Letting the crooks just wander around wasn't going to bring Maria Osawa to safety. Of that, Kano was now certain. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect, ever. He uttered the fundamental dictum out loud. Well, you lost sight of it completely, a voice said out of nowhere. Ugh, Kano spun around. It was Shizuo. Rumi was with him. Sir? Kano stuttered. Weren't you supposed to be waiting at the cafe for... There was some lowlife there, so we left. Rumi's dad looked plenty mean under ordinary circumstances. Right now, he looked like a man possessed. I beg your pardon. I'm still on duty at the moment. I'm going back home, Shizuo huffed. You're not marrying my daughter. He turned to walk away. No, please, just wait. I'm done waiting. Now I'm going home. Please, don't do this. Just hear me out. I've heard all I need to hear from you. Rumi, we're leaving. Dad, please. Goodbye. Seizing his daughter by the hand, Shizuo stormed off without another word, dragging her behind. Shinya! She called over her shoulder. Rumi. She was gone. Rumi was gone. Kano desperately wanted to go after her, but he hesitated in an agony of indecision. I can't turn my back on my responsibilities. I'm a detective. My work has to be my first priority. Going after Rumi isn't what a good detective would do. Oh, Detective Tateno. What should I do? Tateno, Still the dictum echoed in his mind. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. I... 6 months later... Kano made his way through a small corner of a vast field in the Nagano countryside. Slowly and leisurely, he tilled the soil. He'd surprised himself with his own newfound enthusiasm for organic farming, learning more from Shizuo day after day. His father-in-law had taught him the ways of farming from the ground up, and while things had been rocky between them at first, their friendship was now growing strong. Pausing to wipe his brow, he smiled at the acreage around him. He looked forward to tending the crops he'd sown until harvest came around. If he'd stayed on as a detective, he might well never have known the joy he now found in his work. And this wasn't the only seed Kano had planted. Oh god. By the time harvest season came around, the new life growing within his dear Romi's belly would be ready to celebrate it with them. Bad ending. You're pregnant. Bad ending. You are the father. Minorikawa. Minorikawa stood on the sidewalk, weighing his options. Chiaki's phone call had thrown him for a loop. He had expected her to be anxious about doing interviews, but wow, she was a real basket case. Still, that didn't change the fact that he had a schedule of his own to keep. The surveillance camera story had to be his top priority. Chiaki would just have to find some way to fumble through things on her end. He headed on down Nogenzaka, scanning his surroundings as he went. There were cameras set up on streetlights all over the place. There were so many, it was hard to believe he'd ever noticed them before. One over there, another just over there. Electronic eyes peering down on passers-by from high above, where they were tougher to spot. Just how were the people who came to Shibuya reacting to this situation? Hey, you there! Minorikawa called out to a man riding on a bicycle. Hey you, stop! The man brought his bike to a sudden stop. This guy again? Huh? Oh, what's the matter? He asked. Hi, the name's Minorikawa. I'm a freelance writer. Okay. I'm just doing interviews for a magazine, and I'd like to talk to you. A magazine? Which one? 4-Star General Gossip. Minorikawa did his best to sound proud. Oh, well, I'm actually in a bit of a hurry here. Minorikawa soldiered on. See that? See that? He pointed at one of the nearby surveillance cameras. What? The man asked. The blimp? The massive blimp was indeed drifting slowly overhead. Ooh. No, the camera! The camera watched them both in uncaring silence. Oh, that. What about it? What do you mean, what about it? Those cameras have been installed all throughout Shibuya. They're taking in anything and everything. Privacy be damned. A shocked pallor came to the man's face. Oh, really? He muttered uneasily to himself. I guess I should be careful next time I go picking stuff up. Hey, what are you talking about? Minorikawa asked. Oh, nothing, just stuff. Way to dodge the question entirely. Anyhow, I think there are some good things about the cameras too, the man said hurriedly. Oh, Minorikawa asked, such as? Well, I mean, they must have helped catch some crooks, right? Yeah, I think you're right about that. Oh, I am? The man looked shocked to have his own statement confirmed. Are you hiding something from me? No, nothing in particular. The man shook his head vehemently. Nothing at all, really. Well, whatever, Norikawa said. In any case, even if the cameras are helping in arresting criminals, there are some places where people just don't want to be watched. Huh? For instance, how would you like it if someone set up a security camera inside your home? What do you mean? I mean, a burglar might try to get inside your home. If you had a security camera, you could be alerted right away. Isn't that kind of an extreme argument? No! You are the one making the extreme argument here! What? The man stared, bewildered. You're saying it's okay for folks to film people around town as much as they might like, but not to take a look inside people's houses. Yeah, I guess I am, the man mumbled. Norikawa snorted. You don't think too deeply about things, do you? He mocked. The man huffed in indignation. I don't see the problem, he said. I mean, it's a normal enough opinion. To want to bring down crime but also protect privacy? Well, yeah, so if they're just going to set up cameras around town, I'm okay with that. Minorikawa grinned inwardly. You're being naive, he said. Way too naive. Naive about what? By now the man was getting worked up. Once you start letting people watch you some of the time, you'll eventually let them do it more and more. That's how the world works. A simple change in camera angle is all it'll take to steal the last traces of your privacy away. That's kind of funny coming from you. Doesn't 4-star journal gossip get all its scuttlebutt by invading the privacy of others? Since when are you people concerned with personal privacy? Meaning what, exactly? Minorikawa asked. You know damn well what I mean. Have you no shame? I've got nothing to be ashamed about, Minorikawa exclaimed. If some celebrity scandal breaks, I write it up in the form of a top-class, socially conscious exposé. That's the Minorikawa's seal of quality. The man rolled his eyes. Please, as if anyone's ever heard of that. Your everyday freelance reporter would say something about how security firms have no right to use cameras to disrupt personal privacy. But not me. Oh no. I'm the only guy who'd write a first-class piece on the subject. And you want to know why? The man's only response was a doubtful look. Because privacy only exists for me to utterly demolish it. Minorikawa finished it with a prideful grin. That's nothing but journalistic arrogance, the man railed. Oh yeah? Yeah, I'd rather have surveillance cameras any day. If the alternative is some weird gossip piece. This time, Norikawa didn't have a handy retort. An awkward silence descended over the pair. Right, I see. Norikawa muttered to himself as he busily scribbled in his notepad. The man was visibly taken aback. Thank you for your cooperation, Norikawa said at last. You gave me some good stuff. He held up a hand to forestall an angry retort. I realize I probably got you a bit riled up. You'll have to forgive me. Huh? The man peered up at Minorikawa in disbelief. This is just my interview style. Sorry, I know it's a little unorthodox. Buddy, you're a weirdo, you know that? The man said. Yeah, I hear that a lot, Minorikawa laughed. So can I go now? Sure, I'll quote you as Passerby A in my article. Sure, whatever, the man muttered. He quickly sped off on his bicycle. Norikawa now had some material for a surveillance camera piece. He wanted to organize what he'd managed to put together so far. He decided to head toward his next interview location, keeping an eye out for a cafe where he could stop to work on his copy. He used the map included in the project proposal to guide him. It was hard to read the words and make out the details, but it looked like the Nokane building where the Burning Hammer demo was being held was just down Center Guy. There was no indication of which floor the event would be held on, however. That made him a little anxious, but he'd probably be able to find someone to point him in the right direction once he got to the building. He spotted a cafe up ahead. "Coffee, please," he shouted as he strode inside. He slumped down in an open chair. Hopefully he'd be able to hole up in here until 1 o'clock, working on his article. If he couldn't have done it by then, finishing the whole issue by the end of the day would be a tall order. He pulled a cigarette from his overcoat as he waited for his computer to boot up. Having a smoke was Minorikawa's little trigger for going into writing mode. He stuck the cigarette in his mouth and lit it up. With the first heavy draw of smoke, he felt his mind focus. The rough idea for his article came to his head nearly fully formed. All he needed to do now was get it all written down. Finally, his laptop finished booting up. "Took you long enough, pal," he muttered to his computer. His hands leapt to the keyboard like a predator pouncing on its prey. In a matter of moments, he had hit his stride. His fingers clicked away. One by one, lines of text filled up his screen. A waitress stepped up beside him. "Excuse me, sir." But Minorikawa was in writing mode. He didn't even hear her. "Sir? Sir, I beg your pardon." Again, Minorikawa was deaf to the waitress's attempts to get his attention. "Sir, excuse me." The waitress smacked the table. "Quiet!" Minorikawa snapped. He slammed the table right back. "Don't interrupt me when I'm working. Not if you know what's good for you." The waitress didn't so much as flinch. She leaned in aggressively, getting right in Minorikawa's face. "Ikumi Omiya. Omiya. Sir, I hate to bother you, but I have to ask you to please refrain from smoking." Minorikawa blinked. "Huh?" "This is a non-smoking establishment, sir." "No smoking?" Minorikawa asked. The cigarette bobbed in his mouth as he spoke. The waitress pointed sharply to the sign on the wall. The words "no smoking" were spelled out clear as day. "We ask that patrons please not smoke so that other customers can fully enjoy the aroma of their coffee." The waitress drew herself up in arrogant triumph. A woman sitting at the table next made a face as she tried to fan the smoke away with her hands. Customers all around the shop were glaring at him. "You guys don't know the first thing about the aroma of coffee," Minorikawa scoffed. "The scent of coffee only truly comes to life amidst the choking stench of tobacco smoke." The waitress's only response was to jab her finger again. But this time, she didn't point at the sign, she pointed to the door. "Sir, if you're going to smoke, please take it outside." Sometime later, sitting inside the Café Trek, Minorikawa lit up his third cigarette. At last, safe refuge. It had taken him quite some time to find a place that allowed smoking after he got kicked out of the first cafe. Now he was in a rush to make up for lost time. His fingers flew over the keyboard at lightning speed. The more he wrote, the harder he focused. At this rate, he'd have the story wrapped up in no time. "Today, you hear me?" A voice intruded suddenly on his awareness. One of the other customers was shouting. "You're breaking up with that fellow today." Minorikawa's fingers drifted to a halt. He looked around to see where the voice had come from. An older man, red in the face, was shouting at the young woman who sat across from him. "Please, Dad," the woman pleaded. "Stop. You're making a scene."
Father and daughter, then. It was rare nowadays to see a father behave so imperiously toward his own daughter. Just how sheltered had he been trying to keep her? Morikawa couldn't see her face from where he was sitting, but his interest was piqued. Let's see... No, I need to finish this article. No, he reminded himself that he needed to finish his article. Besides, if this young lady looked anything like her father, he'd just as soon pass. Morikawa went back to his typing. It took a few minutes to re-establish his writing groove, with the two still bickering across the room. But thankfully, he soon regained his focus. What's that? His hands went still as a strange noise intruded on his reverie. Whatever it was close by. What in the world is that sound? Nope, gotta focus on the article. Never mind, I need to focus on finishing this article. Morikawa tried to immerse himself in his writing again. Before long, he stopped worrying about the curious sound. Time passed. Eventually, the pace of his writing slowed down a bit, and Morikawa glanced at his watch. It was later than he thought. Pretty soon, he was going to have to head over to get an interview from the diet drink people. He reached into his bag for the project proposal to double-check the demo location. Huh? The proposal, it's... gone. Crap, where the heck did it go? He checked all around the table, but he didn't see it anywhere. Maybe he left it at the other cafe, the non-smoking place. Well, he didn't have time to go back for it now. His phone rang. What now? Morikawa snapped as he answered it. A tiny squeak came through the receiver. It was followed by the sound of sniffling sobs. "I'm sorry, I just..." Chiaki? Was she done with her interviews, maybe? "It's no use. People won't stop to talk no matter how hard I try." Her voice broke up into further sobs. "Look, I've got my own problems to deal with. You're just gonna have to find some way to manage." "But... I can't." "Sorry, I'm hanging up now." And so he did. He had to hurry. Had to get to the demo venue. But he lost the map and forgotten the location. Think, man, he told himself. Where would they hold an event like this? Probably someplace big, right? And there ought to be a guide or someone out front, too. With these assumptions in mind, Morikawa broke into a run, searching ahead as he went. He stopped when he caught sight of a particular multi-tenant office building. A whole stream of women were filing inside. All of them looked a little heavy, too. Pay dirt. This had to be the health food company's sales demo. He hurried into the building. The women were queued up down the hallway. This was definitely the place then. More confident by the moment, Morikawa made his way up the stairs. Finally, he reached the front of the line. There was a notice posted outside the doorway ahead. Morikawa read it out loud. Auditions for the starring role in Sun TV's Sumo Queen 2. It was a sequel series to a recent TV drama featuring full-figured actresses. "That's it!" Morikawa exclaimed, a new project proposal springing fully formed into his mind. He felt as if he'd been struck by a bolt of divine inspiration. Big bodies, bigger names. A new arena
A new arena opens for aspiring plus-size actresses. Never mind the diet drink demo. This was going to be Minorikawa's big story. Minorikawa managed to meet the deadline. The show, however, wound up being a massive flop. Sales of the issue of 4-Star General Gossip were likewise lackluster, with an unprecedented number of copies going unsold. Mr. Toyama's debts continued to spiral out of control, and before long, Heaven Publishing was no more. Wrong venue. Tama can do something that causes Cheery to head to the cafe. Come on. In 1 hour, the Burning Hammer sales demo will begin. Crunch. Cheery is laying out the assortment of snacks that we'll have on hand. Hey Tama, you hungry? Why yes I am. I mean, that should be pretty obvious at this point. All I've had since putting on this stupid mascot costume is some burning hammer and a bunch of iced tea. Hey now, Cheery shoots back. What's with the attitude? Cheery, you do remember that you ate my lunch, right? The sticker said it was best before noon. You just made that up. Yeah. Cheery chortles merrily and chugs some more iced tea. Okay, folks, Mr. Yanagishita calls out as he slips into the room. Lunch break's over. Back to work. I don't feel like I've had much of a break. If anything, I'm even more mentally exhausted than I was before. There's a box full of Anagachi toys in the storeroom on the 3rd floor. Mind putting those down? Anagachi? I ask, what's that? The name makes it sound like some sort of product knockoff. Mr. Yanagishita's face widens in surprise. You've never heard of them? You know, Anagachi. It's a digital pet game where you raise an eel that lives in Tokyo Bay. Never heard of it, I say. Huh, well, I guess maybe a lot of people in Japan haven't heard of it yet. But it's all the rage right now with youngsters over in NYC. NYC? Oh, he must mean New York City. It's popular in New York, really? Anyway, I did some quick checking and that's what I learned, so last month I bought a whole bunch of them. And once again, you were swindled. Yep. Ouch, Cheery dropping the hard truth. Mr. Yanagishita lets out a pathetic whimper. No. Just like that, his confidence evaporates. He starts muttering to himself. I thought it sounded a little fishy, really. I mean, think about it. Why would kids in New York be interested in raising eels from Tokyo Bay? He muses. And what appeal would an eel character even have anyway? None, that's what. I should have known that. I did know it. Then why'd you buy them? This farce is getting tiresome. Anyway, Yanagishita continues, it was gonna cost way too much to keep them in storage, so I was just gonna let the recycling guy take them. He hangs his head in shame. In a matter of moments, he's borderline catatonic. Cheery, on the other hand, flashes a big, bright grin. Still, you know, eel's pretty delicious. Oh, Cheery, Yanagishita blurts. Thank you. He clasped her hands in gratitude. I wasn't exactly complimenting you there, boss. It's the same thing. There's a little bit of me in each of my products. Anagachi and I are one and the same. I don't want to watch this again, but... which is to say, eels and I are one and the same. Go on then, say something nice about eels. Cheery chimes right in without missing a beat. Eels are awesome. When it comes to eel sushi, 100 pieces barely whets my appetite. You know, these two make quite a pair. That really means a lot to me, Cheery. Thank you, thank you. I don't understand what any of this is about, but if it helps mend Mr. Yanagishita's wounded spirits, I guess I can't complain. I leave them to their devices and head for the storeroom. The storeroom door opens with a rough, grating sound. Okay, now where's the light switch? I fumble around in the dark, feeling for the switch box. My costume paws mute the sensations in my hands enough that even finding that is difficult. I bat at the wall willy-nilly until eventually the lights come on. Apparently I found the switch, even if I didn't feel it. Whoa, what the heck is this? The storeroom is practically overflowing with shoddy goods. A painting that looks like a child's scribblings. An oddly shaped hat bearing the words, "Grow 2 inches, guaranteed." A cheap-looking pendant with a tag that says it's set with a miracle stone. It's like this is the knockoff boneyard where cheap products go to die. They break away from their pathetic herd, knowing their time has come, and end up in this graveyard of a storeroom. Let's see. Anagachi, Anagachi. I quickly spy the cardboard box I'm looking for. Then I catch sight of a dark silhouette out of the corner of my eye. Eee! I yelp. Ah, cockroach. It's one of them. Black, flat, quick, Lana Tene. Often spotted in kitchens. Sometimes, somehow, their legs wind up in restaurant food. Ew. The size, the speed, the dark shape, it couldn't be anything else. It peers back at me from the shadow of the Anagachi box, a faint light catching the luster of its carapace. It looks ready to leap out at me at any moment. I need to act fast. Dun, 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 dun. Challenge it to single combat. It flitters aloft. It's gunning for me, alright. Bracing myself, I step forward to confront it, which paradoxically helps calm my nerves. I get the sneaking suspicion that this isn't the first time I've done battle with one of these things. It's like I've trained myself to protect someone who's even more scared of them than I am. As I mull that over, the thing hovering in the air presses its attack against me. Now's my chance. I snatch up a nearby piece of cardboard and swat at the creature hard. It sails out the window in a graceful arc, then flitters away into the world beyond. Whew, at least we parted on mutually acceptable terms. I didn't have to squash it or blast it with pesticide. Lifting the box labeled Anagachi, I scurry away from the graveyard of schlock merchandise. I made it.
When I get back to the break room, Mr. Yanagishita is still clutching Chiri's hands. And eel's super tasty when you salt broil it too.
Thank you.
But tempura style is probably the best.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Yanagishita's spirits have certainly turned around. Okay, got it. I hold out the big cardboard box.
Excellent, thank you. You girls are the greatest, Yanagishita shouts. His voice resounds with gratitude. Hey, that's it. I just got an amazing idea. Why don't the three of us start our own company?
I'll pass. Chiri and I respond in unison.
Man, you two shot that one down quick.
Oh well. For today, let's just focus on selling Burning Hammer. By the way, I ask, where is the Burning Hammer? There wasn't any in the storeroom, and I didn't see any here either.
Oh, that's right. It's out back on the loading dock. We should probably go bring it in. Oh, and bring that Onagachi's with you too. The recycling guy is gonna be showing up soon. Come on, let's go.
Chiri and I follow Mr. Yanagishita out to the loading dock. But the loading dock, it turns out, is empty. There's no sign of the Burning Hammer anywhere.
It's gone, Mr. Yanagishita murmurs. And his voice rises to a shout. It's gone! All gone! The Burning Hammer! It's all gone! Flying into a panic, he searches frantically from one end of the dock to the other, leaping into the air, even peering down into the cracks. But no matter where he looks, there's nothing for him to find. It was right here a little while ago. Like, right here. Right here. I hear the sound of an engine revving outside. Mr. Yanagishita cries out in alarm. You can see a truck starting to pull away. Its bed is piled high with cardboard boxes and other assorted trash. Hey boss, is that? Yes, there it is. Mr. Yanagishita begins racing after the truck. My burning hammer! His voice cracks as he cries out. Give that back! Give it back! But there's no match for a speeding truck, and the boxes of burning hammer vanish before his eyes. Burning hammer! Come back! Come back! Yanagishita's wailing echoes from the surrounding buildings. It's like something out of a movie. What the hell? What's up with that truck? Tama! Who the heck was that? Hey, don't look at me, I reply. Huh. With all those piles of stuff, it looked just like the recycling guy. As soon as he says it, revelation draws on his face. The recycling guy? He mutters. I can see the color draining from his face. The words recycling guy give me an idea. If it was him, maybe he thought he was picking up the Anagachis by mistake. We have to find it. We have to find that truck. The man is absolutely beside himself. Chiri, Tama. You two split up and try to track it down. Wait, why do we have to look for it? Again, Chiri and I speak in chorus. If there's no sales demo, there's no money to pay you. And then all the work you've done will be for nothing. Right, when he puts it that way, I guess there isn't much of a choice. Somehow or another, we'll have to find the truck. We can't have gotten far, he continues. Now go hunt for it like your life depends on it. Chiri and I look at each other and sigh. How do you want us to do this? She asks. Want to search together, or should we split up? Oh, wait. supposed to... I'll come back to that. Achi. Ashi and Hitomi scampered through the back roads along Sintergai, white sneakers and pumps slapping on the pavement. Achi kept his eyes peeled, continually checking ahead and behind as they darted through the gaps between the buildings. Finally, they stopped in a narrow alley. "There's no way he'll find us here," he said. "No one knows about this place." He took another look around and let out a sigh of relief. It seemed they managed to shake the gunman for now. Back when Achi was with SOS, he had come through Sentergai practically every day. The gang had started out as little more than a group of local teens. They didn't do much in particular, just horsing around and killing time. What mattered was that they were having fun. But it wasn't long before it wasn't all fun and games. Achi couldn't help but notice the slobs who were making a mess of Shibuya, dirtying it all up. He wasn't about to let them get away with it. Most frequently, it was folks who tossed cigarette butts out in the street or plastered walls and graffiti. When they didn't respond to his more gentle warnings, he found slightly more forceful ways of getting his point across. SOS got a reputation. Street punks started trying to pick fights with its members. Those guys required a bit more force to handle. And when it came to the worst of the lot, the drug dealers, the muggers, the guys who tried to force themselves on women, it was full-on battle, no holds barred. Before long, SOS had established itself as something of a vigilante corps. Soon it became known as one of the biggest gangs in Shibuya. "Let's lay low here for a bit and see what happens," Achi said. The alley where they hid was like a dimly lit chasm, obscuring them from view. The only problem now was figuring out what to do next. They needed to find that blue van again, which meant figuring out the best way to get back to Dogenzaka without the man with the cane catching them once more. "Achi?" Hitomi whispered. "Huh?" "I think I can handle myself from here." She got to her feet and gave Achi a deep bow. "Whoa," Achi held up a hand. "We've been over this already. You're not gonna be okay. That guy has a gun. If he let her go up against that assassin alone, he might as well be the one to pull the trigger himself." "Thank you so much for everything you've done for me," Hitomi continued as if she hadn't heard him. She started to shuffle out of the alleyway. "Hey, what did I just say?" "Really, Achi, I appreciate your concern, but I can't in good conscience put you in danger anymore." "But, I mean..." Achi tried to press the point, but Hitomi cut him off. "There's no good reason for you to risk yourself to keep helping me." Her tone was resolute. He refused to back down. Still, Achi was determined to help her anyway. He refused to back down. "Look, I want to help people who are in trouble. What's so wrong about that?" "Huh?" He locked eyes with Hitomi, willing her to understand. "I'm not the most dependable guy, I know that. But still, Hitomi dropped her gaze and Achi trailed off, feeling like an idiot. "Ugh, it's no use. I'm no use." He hung his head with a sigh. Just then, a bit of light shone into the alleyway from above. It looked like someone on the adjacent building's upper floor had turned on the lights. Do I do anything here? Just... I guess I... jump katana? So, where's the light switch? Ooh, what the heck is this? Maybe I wasn't supposed to jump? I'll just do this again real quick, I guess. The light illuminated Hitomi's face. When Nachi saw the look in her eyes, he reconsidered his decision. She was trying her hardest to hide it, but she was clearly terrified. No way was he letting her go back out there alone. Still, if he tried to insist, she would only refuse him again. Hitomi, humor me for a second here. Tell me, what's the proper way to dispose of a plastic bottle? She stared at him in surprise. Well, first you remove the cap and the wrapper. Then you rinse out the inside and crush it. Hachi let out the breath he'd been holding. Okay, good. I don't understand. What's good? You gave me my reason why I have to help you out. I super respect people who respect the environment. I'm one of those whatchamacallits, an environmentalist. Hachi pointed to his mean clean t-shirt. Hitomi hesitated. And what was your plan if I said the answer was to toss the plastic in with the trash? Well, then I need to stick with you to help teach you. Environmental awareness begins with good education. So then you were going to tag along with me regardless. Look, I'm just super pumped to learn that you care so much about proper recycling. Hachi cracked a huge grin. Okay then. Okay. If you're really that sure about it, I guess I could use your help a little while longer. Hitomi flashed him a little smile. Man, she's so cute, Hachi thought. Then something else caught his eye. Huh? What's that there? It looked like something black was stuck to the top of her head. Hachi, what are you staring at? You got something stuck there. What, on my head? Without thinking, Hitomi reached up and plucked it off. It was about 10 centimeters long, its body a glistening black, sporting feelers and several pairs of legs. It began to writhe and wriggle between Hitomi's slender fingers. Gah! Gah! Hachi yelled. It's a cockroach! He jumped backward, but Hitomi didn't so much as flinch. Sorry, that gave me a bit of a start, he continued. Guess it must have fallen from one of the windows up there. Still, he told me did not move. Hitomi? She didn't appear to hear him. Hello, Hitomi? With muffled gurgle, Hitomi passed out on the spot, her body as stiff as a mannequin. Hitomi, are you okay? Hitomi! Hitomi! But no matter how loudly Achi called her name, Hitomi would not come to. From that day onward, Achi devoted even more of his time and energy to collecting trash. It became his personal passion to see that his city was a clean one, devoid of cockroaches. That was the mandate he had been handed, or, if nothing else, his atonement. Honestly, I would probably die too if I just picked up a cockroach. Passed out. So is she like in a coma, or... Okay, go back to Tama. Snatch up the box. I snatch up the cardboard box and make a run for it. Ooh, I made it! Split up. We should split up. Tree and I go our separate ways, searching for a truck full of junk. I make my way to Center Guy. I'm so focused on searching all over as I walk that I lose track of where I'm going, and I wind up bumping right into a man who's hurrying along with his daughter. Oh, pardon me. I hop back to my feet and go to bow to the man in apology. Ow!
He bows at the same time and we manage to bonk our heads together. Sorry. As her dad drops to his knees, clutching his head, the girl begins to wander off.
Hey, Hana, wait!
The man lurches to his feet and rushes after the girl. She seems like an odd kid, only 10 or so, but strangely cold and distant for her age. Nursing my own sore head, I make it all the way to Shibuya Station, but there's no sign of the truck. I'll probably never find it just by wandering around randomly. It's already 12:35. The sales demo starts in 25 minutes. I have serious doubts I'll be able to find the truck by then. Ugh. What should I do?
Osawa?
The rain won't let up. No matter how much time passes, it just won't stop. Ever since that day, the sound of raindrops has been burned into my mind. Such an awful, heart-rending sound, driving me to strip my life down to shadows. And yet, no matter what else I abandon, nothing will make the sound of the rain stop. Osawa stared at a postcard that was nestled into the final page of the photo album. He purchased it 2 years earlier while on a trip with Maria to the Middle East. He'd mentioned that he was being sent there on business, and Maria had just blurted out, "I want to go with you." She'd recently developed an interest in the Middle East conflict, and apparently she had been yearning to see the area firsthand. His daughter's newfound curiosity had taken him aback. She had always tended to be quiet and self-contained. The clumsy conversations aboard the airplane. The meals eaten together in awkward silence. It all felt like such a distant memory to Osawa now.
Ma'am, I'm afraid I can't let you do that. He heard Kachiwada's voice outside the door.
Why ever not? I'm just going out for a bit. The detective was arguing with I. Great. And just who was it who told me I should try to go about my life as normal, huh? Osawa's wife sneered.
Ma'am, please,
How would you feel about being told to just sit around and wait? Sit around and wait. Ai's angry shriek jerked Osawa to his feet. He hurried from the study to try to calm her down.
Ma'am, please wait.
But by the time Osawa had made his way downstairs, his wife had already stormed outside, despite Kachiwada's attempts to stop her. Osawa doubted anything he could have said would have stopped Ai from leaving. Trying to physically keep her from going out would only have made for an even worse uproar. He was glad that at least it hadn't come to that. He was turning to head back to the study when Kachiwada caught his eye. Resigned, he headed down the stairs and bowed to the detective.
Any idea where she's going? Kachiwada asked. I mean, at a time like this?
Osawa shook his head.
I wouldn't know.
I didn't think so. You know, your wife really is something else.
Osawa arched an eyebrow. That's one way to describe her. A rather rude way, as a matter of fact.
Oh, no offense intended.
It's just that, ever since this case started, you've both been holed up in your own respective rooms. The more Kashiwara spoke, the more irritated Osawa became. What's your point? He demanded. I just mean, you haven't been having any, marital discourse. Mind your own business, Osawa snapped. Kashiwara dipped his head differentially. The two of us not talking isn't a new thing anyhow, Osawa added. I have a policy of not having pointless conversations. Huh. It didn't look as though Kashiwara quite understood. Microorganisms such as viruses don't have conversations, and yet still they continually propagate in order to survive. Thinking about viruses, Osawa was back in familiar territory. He felt a surge of confidence. Once you have a clear purpose, conversation is unnecessary. And do you have a clear purpose for the relationship with your wife, Mr. Osawa? Of course I do. To be a family. Arms crossed, Kashiwara struck a thoughtful pose. At least I've learned one useful thing today, Mr. Osawa. Namely, that you don't like to have pointless conversations. It's a good thing to know. Kashiwara uncrossed his arms for a moment, then crossed them right back again, furrowing his brow. But see, that's funny. You seem to have a tendency to have pointless conversations with me, Anne. Because you keep coming to talk to me. Osawa saw red. You don't leave me much of a choice. Tanaka poked his head out of the living room. Is something the matter? He asked. No. Osawa struggled to regain his calm. Perfect timing, actually. There's something I need to talk to you about. He turned back to Kashiwara. My apologies, Detective, but would you mind giving us some privacy? Kashiwara didn't move. Detective? Osawa gave the policeman a hard look and saw him crack a smile. Yes, what is it? Kashiwara said at last. Don't you play dumb with me. Give us some privacy. Is this a discussion I shouldn't overhear? Actually, yes, it's work-related. They're business matters I prefer to keep confidential. Ah, I see. Reluctantly getting to his feet, Kashiwara slipped away into the living room. Tanaka, Osawa began. About those emails. He stopped abruptly. Kashiwara had reappeared in the living room door, staring right at them. What are you doing? Osawa demanded. Oh, should I not be watching? Osawa felt like he was about to burst a blood vessel. I mean, you never told me that I couldn't watch. Because it should be obvious. The detective made a scolded puppy face, then closed the living room door. Osawa let out a heavy sigh. He'd never been an extrovert, but he didn't recall human interaction being quite this draining. Anyway, sir, Tanaka prompted, you were saying? Yes, about those emails. Something doesn't make sense. I don't understand how Mr. Makino was able to get the antiviral agent to anyone on the outside. Sharing an Akoshi Pharmaceuticals drug with external sources while it was still under development required the approval of an executive committee that included Osawa himself. There should have been no way the antiviral could be sent out without his knowledge. Tanaka hesitated a few moments before responding. Are you aware of the strife between the company president and the chairman? Osawa shook his head. He was a researcher through and through. Factional rivalries held no interest for him whatsoever. Makino effectively leads the chairman's team, and the antiviral agent is their pet project. Despite being the executive officer in charge of the project, however, Makino still needs the president's approval to... You know what? Forget about that right now. What do we do about security? In theory, it was physically impossible to get the antiviral out of the lab without detection. Entry to the biohazard laboratory where it was kept required fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. Without the two of them there, nobody could even get into the storage facility. Naka followed his drift. Ah, yes, I see what you mean. He inclined his head in thought as Osawa continued. Could someone have overwritten the fingerprint authentication program? Maybe whoever was behind the secret trials had reprogrammed the entry criteria while Osawa was overseas. That would allow them to gain access to the storage facility without Osawa being there. But that would only be possible if they had Tanaka's cooperation. Tanaka's eyes widened when Osawa shared his conjecture. "Sir," he asked, "you don't think I was part of this, do you?" "Of course not. I was merely suggesting the possibility." "The possibility is zero," Tanaka said. "Making any changes to the system requires consent from the board. Including your own personal approval, sir." Yes, you're right, of course. I certainly didn't mean to imply anything." Osawa winced apologetically. The living room door opened with a soft creak. It was Kajiwara, and he looked stiff and pale. "Something terrible has happened," he said. Visions of tragedy flooded Osawa's mind. "Maria... she..." Kajiwara shook his head. "No, it's not that." "What is it then?" Osawa asked, his voice trembling. "Sir, I need you to stay calm." Osawa swallowed the lump in his throat. "You see, the toilet's clogged." This game is so random. Plunger in hand, Osawa stabbed vigorously at the recalcitrant toilet bowl, struggling to loosen the unseen blockage. It goes Kajiwara was at his side, wiping up the floor with a rag. "How did this even happen?" the detective groaned. "Are you kidding? I was hoping you could tell me that." The plunger sucked and slurped at the porcelain basin. This was a first for Osawa. He never tried to unclog a toilet before in his life. "Think of it as a blessing in disguise, Mr. Osawa." "What the hell are you talking about?" "What about this constitutes a blessing?" "I just meant that at least this happened before you needed to, do your business." Without the slightest hint of guile on his face, Kajiwara picked up his bucket and headed for the sink back in the washing area. Grumbling to himself, Osawa pumped the plunger over and over again. This was almost funny. Almost ridiculous, in fact. His daughter had been kidnapped, and he was stuck unclogging a toilet. He was quite possibly caught up in a major corporate conspiracy, and here he was, unclogging a toilet. Tanaka poked his head into the bathroom. Did you fix it yet? If you need to urinate, then use the restroom on the second floor. That's alright, here's fine. Tanaka stepped in beside him and abruptly shut the bathroom door. Oh no. Now the two men were crammed together in the narrow lavatory. Hey, Osawa hissed. What the hell are you doing? Tanaka made eye contact with Osawa via the mirror. He spoke in a hushed voice. I've been waiting. For a moment, I could get you alone. What? Tanaka sidled around to face him, giving him an intense stare. Sir, could you please be quiet for a moment? Tanaka had tears in the corners of his eyes. This will only take a moment. Osawa could feel the warm breath of his deputy whispering against his cheek. Tanaka reached for something inside his coat. Don't make me use this plunger. Okay, do as you wish. Alright, do as you wish. Osawa closed his eyes. Are you sure you're ready for this? I'm not sure. This is all happening pretty fast. To be honest, I'm rather nervous. I understand, sir. I mean, now that I think of it, we do spend day in and day out in that lab together. I suppose this was bound to happen sooner or later. Sir, could you please open your eyes? I'd like you to look at this. You'll have to forgive me. This is all a bit sudden. Please, sir, take a look. No, I can't. It's just the two of us. It's probably going to shock you, I know, but please, just look. Is it really that shocking? Oh yes, very. Now please, open your eyes. Okay. No, I can't. Sir, trust me, this isn't easy for me either. Alright. Bracing himself, Osawa opened his eyes. Tanaka thrust out his cell phone. Here, take a look at this. Huh? Osawa blinked, bewildered, then refocused on the phone. He could never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. It was a keep out sign. Let's see. Achi. Achi. Hitomi flashed him a little smile. Man, she's so cute, Achi thought.
Sneaking out from the alley, Achi and Hitomi began to make their way along the side streets back toward Dogenzaka. It was a pretty big detour compared to taking the main thoroughfares, but that would be worth it if it meant they avoided the man with the cane. Achi looked over at Hitomi as she walked alongside him. Her face was solemn. He could feel the intensity of her worry for her sister. "Ooh, well, 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 look who's got himself a little cutie." The sudden call startled him. He spun around. "Yo, mean clean, over here." Achi spotted a young man up ahead, sneering at him. At his side were two others. Achi recognized the lot. SOS. Hitomi let out a nervous squeak. "Achi?" "Don't worry about them." He led her onward, attempting to stride right past the trio. "Whoa, hey now, you just gonna ignore me? That's pretty damn rude, especially coming from someone who used to be an old buddy." The three toughs moved to bar Achi's path. "Ooh, she is hella fine. Come on, ain't you gonna introduce us?" "Sorry, man," Achi said. "I'm in a bit of a hurry here." He gave them a tepid smile. "A big hurry, huh? Where to? Some love hotel in Maria Macho?" "Too rich," another chimed in. "She a screamer, Achi?" Achi!" They burst out howling like a gang of monkeys. One of them cackled like a grinning idiot. Achi! 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 God. Achi felt his anger boil. Too much at stake. There was too much at stake. He was just going to have to suck it up and ignore them for the time being. Gritting his teeth, he tried to slip past them, but the largest of the three grabbed him by the collar. "You ran out, man. Suzumu's the one who runs this town now. You got no right to keep acting like you're the boss of us." He shoved Achi up against the wall. "Says who?" Achi asked. "Suzumu?" "Say what now?" "Did Suzumu say I've got no right to act like the boss?" "Bitch, please. Suzumu ain't got time to worry about your sorry ass." "Ah, is that so?" Achi's fist flashed out, catching the man clean on the jaw. He dropped to the ground with a dull thud. "So, tell Suzumu this. Everyone in Shibuya needs to just play nice and have fun." Achi kept his tone light and jovial, but he eyed the two other toughs like a hawk eyeing its prey. "Is he going to be alright?" Hitomi murmured. She looked at the man Achi had laid out with some concern. He'll be fine. If that's all it took to knock him out, he's got no right to act all badass." "Achi, huh? I don't believe I've had the pleasure." A taller man with an angry gleam in his eyes had appeared atop the steps nearby. He must have turned up during the commotion. He radiated a distinct aura of menace. "That's me," Achi replied. "And just who are you?" For once, it was someone he didn't recognize. "The name's Yoji Kiro." Killer whale. "I joined up with SOS after you left. Now I'm Suzumu's number 2 guy." The newcomer stared at Achi's face, sizing him up. "Our legendary founder. I've heard so much about you." The founder. It had been a long time since anyone had called him that. There'd been a bunch of arguing over who would take charge of a new group that was forming to set things straight in Shibuya.
At some point, folks had started hailing him as the force behind SOS. But Founder, that was just something his buddies called him. He never paid it much heed. Shibuya was a place for fun, not hierarchies. At least, in Achi's mind, that was how it ought to be. Like how you busted up some mean old drug dealers, rescued your pals from Yakuza bondage. You're a real hero. Kiru's tongue flicked from his mouth like a snake's. Hitomi shuddered. Achi couldn't blame her for being creeped out. But that's all in the past now, isn't it? Kiru continued. You went modestly on your way. It's up to us now. And we helped SOS grow by leaps and bounds to help carry on your legacy, no matter who stands in our way. That thought didn't sit right with Achi. If aggressive expansion was the name of the game was losing touch with its roots. It wasn't about keeping Shibuya safe and fun anymore. Make SOS bigger, huh? He said. I'm guessing that was Suzumu's call as well. Kiru didn't answer his question. His mouth nearly twisted into a knowing sneer. In any event, I think these boys here need a little lesson in manners. The guillotine ought to do the trick. Other gang members started an alarm. Oh hey, just calm down, man. Please, anything but the guillotine. Kiru pointedly ignored their pleas. Oh hey, what's the guillotine? Achi asked. Kiru smirked. The guillotine is... the guillotine. With me, worms. Without a glance back, Kiru strolled away. His two underlings followed him unhappily. Achi wondered what lay in store for them, but right now he had more important things to worry about. Come on, let's go. He took Hitomi by the hand and they were back on their way. Oh! Hitomi perked up. That's me. She reached into her pocket and took out her cell phone. Huh? She stared at the screen with consternation. What is it? Achi asked. It's an email. From Mr. Tanaka. Who's Mr. Tanaka? He works with my father. I'm not sure what I should do. Achi remembered that the criminal had warned her against contacting her family or the police. She seemed reluctant to even open this message. I'm sure it's fine to just read an email, he said. Besides, he's not the police and he's not your family. Yeah, you're right. Hitomi scanned the message anxiously. It sounds like he's worried about me, she said. Then does he know? About the kidnapping? Yes, I know my father trusts him. And he's always been so... Hitomi cut herself short. Still, it was clear to Achi that she and this Tanaka person had some sort of close relationship. I wonder if it's safe for me to let him know what the situation is. I think it should be, Achi told her. I mean, the kidnappers aren't gonna know you sent an email, right? Hitomi began typing out a response. Achi watched over her, wild speculations running through his mind. There was no way a mild-mannered young lady like her could be dating one of her father's co-workers, was there? No, please. Do I jump here? Here, take a look at this. Huh. Asamo can never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. It was an email from Hitomi. Stifling an exclamation, he scanned the contents of the message.
There's a man following me. He has a gun, and I think he's trying to kill me. I'm safe for the moment, so try not to worry. The kidnapper warned me, told me not to contact my family or the police. Please keep this email a secret.
But didn't he tell me give the kidnapper this ransom? The ransom? Osawa said. What could anyone want with her now? Tanaka shook his head, uncertain. He wouldn't know any better than I would, I suppose. Do the police know about this? And if so, why haven't they said anything? He felt himself start to tremble as he searched for answers in Tanaka's silent gaze. Do you think this could be related to that other thing? I doubt it. If it were, why would they go after Hitomi? I suppose you're right, but Osawa was shaking outright now. Tanaka laid a hand on his shoulder. First, just calm down, and let's think about what we know about the kidnapper. His composure helped Osawa keep himself under control. They've taken Maria, the vice director continued quietly, along with a ransom of 50 million yen, and now they're after Hitomi. His gaze sharpened. Sir, do you think this could be someone who holds a personal grudge against you? A grudge. Osawa considered. He couldn't think of anyone who would have a reason to attack him. He'd been too caught up in virus research since his time in school to have formed any hostile rivalries. He didn't have any enemies that he knew of. Maybe someone's jealous that I became head of a laboratory, he suggested doubtfully. He had held his position for years at this point. Why would that spur someone into kidnapping his daughter now? Has anything happened recently? Tanaka asked. Anything strange since you came back from overseas? Since I got back. Osawa's heart skipped a beat, and started pumping faster. The first thing that came to mind was the solicitation he'd gotten from the American laboratory. If he accepted the offer, it would put Okoshi Pharmaceutical in quite a bind. Possibly enough to warrant someone holding a grudge over it. But the only other person who knew about the potential transfer right now was his wife, Ai. No, Osawa said. Nothing. Not that I could think of. He couldn't bring himself to discuss the transfer with Tanaka. He felt a surge of guilt for contemplating leaving his trusted assistant behind. If he did make the move to America, he planned to recommend that Tanaka replace him as department director. Still, he didn't expect that to make up for his abandonment. Alright, I'll see what information I can find then, Tanaka said. The kidnapper had forbidden any contact with either family or the police. But Tanaka was outside of that circle, and he knew how to handle himself with discretion. Discretion. I'm sorry to have to put this on you, Osawa said. And thank you. For now, let's see if we can get Hitomi to exchange some more emails. An uncomfortable thought suddenly occurred to Osawa. He blurted it out without thinking. Why do you have my daughter's contact information on your phone? Tanaka gave him a worried look. Sir, I promise I can explain once all this is over. And with that, he stepped out of the bathroom. Please say it isn't so. Something in the tone of his final words left Osawa to wonder. Could it be that Tanaka and Hitomi were dating? He hoped dearly for that not to be the case. Their age difference alone made the idea a disturbing one, let alone so many other considerations. Eek. No. Trying to put aside his paranoia, Osawa resumed his struggle with the clog in the toilet. Oh goodness. Kajiwara reappeared, still toting the basket. You seem to be having a lot of trouble there, sir. He made it sound like the whole mess was Osawa's fault. Of course I am. I've never had to do this before. Really, I think the research you do would be a lot more difficult than this. Fixing toilets gives me far more trouble, I'd say. So it would seem. Kajiwara stood watching as if Osawa's efforts made an interesting show. I don't know the first thing about viruses, sir, but I don't find unclogging toilets to be that difficult. Oh yeah? Osawa snapped. Then how about you fix the damn thing? Kajiwara really was a world-class pro at pissing people off. Are you sure you don't mind? The detective asked. Be my goddamn guest. Osawa shoved the plunger into Kajiwara's hand. Leaving the detective to handle the toilet, Osawa marched back to his study. He turned on the CD player and lay back on the sofa, squeezing his eyes shut. He was seriously on edge. Kajiwara had totally broken his stride. What now? The door to the study slid slowly open. It's Detective Kajiwara, sir. Please don't come in here without asking. My apologies, Mr. Osawa. I just wanted to inform you that the toilet has been fixed. Right, fine. Osawa hardly cared. He just wanted this guy to give him a little peace. Oh my, is that really all you have to say, sir? Nary a compliment or encouraging word. Maybe a good job, Kajiwara, or a you're getting a promotion, detective. Osawa blew it out his breath in exasperation. How are you a detective? I'm not sure I get your meaning, sir. You are completely clueless. I'd like to ask your superiors to replace you with a detective who knows how to take his job seriously. Mr. Osawa, with all due respect, it's unusual for a precinct detective like me to be stationed here at a victim's home. What's your point? Not to brag, sir, but I happen to be an exceptional detective. Kajiwara beamed with pride. In fact, I made an excellent showing in the Superstar Detective contest we had on our police social media service. Poxy. For a moment, Osawa thought the bolt of incredulous anger that shot through him was the onset of a stroke. How could a single person be so utterly infuriating? And you can't tell anyone about this, Kajiwara went on obliviously. But this summer, a new detective manga is starting up based on me. Osawa spat out a peal of feigned laughter. A manga? I can tell you all about the plot, sir. Would you like to hear about it? I would not. It's about a telecommuting detective who solves major crimes using just his wits and his computer. Surely you'd like to hear about that, sir. I really wouldn't. I know I may not look it, but I'm pretty handy with computers. Kajiwara's eyes drifted over to Osawa's desktop. His hand darted to the mouse. In a matter of moments, he cleared the screensaver and booted up a web browser. Hey, Osawa barked. Don't touch that. But he was too late to stop the detective. Can you at least take off your stupid toilet gloves? The monitor showed the page for Ayanet, a fan page devoted to Aya Kamaki. Osawa's imminent rage stroke was beginning to make his vision grow fuzzy. You come to this site regularly, sir. Regularly? Well, I'm not sure I'd, Osawa trailed off, feeling the heat of a blush flare on his cheeks. There's a lot of stuff on this site. Is there a section you primarily spend time on? Well, I mean, for my part, I really only go to the fan forums for folks 40 and over. With a twinkle of curiosity in his eyes, Kajiwara peered at the computer screen. Having his privacy invaded to this degree was the ultimate disgrace. Alright, Osawa huffed. You're an amazing detective, Kajiwara. Just incredible. I see you in a new light now. Now would you please... Please leave me alone. Now would you please leave me alone? He got up to leave the study. Sir, hold on. There's something I wanted to give you. Kajiwara reached into his pocket. I don't need a damn banana. Osawa fled the room. He needed to be alone, if only for a few moments. But even if he could somehow shake Kajiwara, the other detectives had eyes all over his house. He had reached the limits of his patience. He couldn't even think straight anymore. He headed for the back door, trying to avoid the police. Opening the door quietly, he slipped across the yard and out through the back fence. He didn't want to venture too far from the house. He found a tiny alley and took cover there, thankful for a few moments to himself at last. While there, he caught sight of a man and a young girl, a father and his daughter, running past on the main road. It looked as if they were running from something. The man glanced anxiously back over his shoulder, dragging his daughter by the hand. Osawa watched absently as the pair rounded a corner and disappeared from sight. Not long after, a pair of thuggish-looking men came running along, heading in the same direction. You there, one of them called out. You see a guy and his daughter around here? Do I jump here? Is this... It doesn't say to jump. They should have come by this way. There's a hint of menace in his voice. Osawa feigned ignorance. Don't think so, no. Come on, Yutaro, let's go, said the older man. Aight, replied the other. The two dashed off in the direction the father and daughter had gone. Osawa took several long, deep breaths. He managed to calm down slightly, but the worry gnawing away inside him still lingered. Osawa groaned inwardly when he got back to his study. You're still here? Yes, sir. I was told to keep my eyes on you after all. Believe me, it shows. Mr. Osawa, if you're going to go outside, I'd appreciate it if you let me know first. What? Had Kajiwara realized he snuck out of the house? But more importantly, Kajiwara reached back into his suit pocket. I've been meaning to give this to you. He held out a small plastic bag. Inside was a scrap of paper of some sort. What's that? Osawa asked. This is what was clogging the toilet, sir. With some hesitation, Osawa took hold of the bag. Huh, that's... The passenger name here is listed as Kenji Osawa. In the plastic bag was a plane ticket. Specifically, the one for his upcoming flight to the US the following week. He left it out on his desk. How had it wound up getting flushed down the toilet? This looks like it's pretty important, sir, Kajiwara said. I must say, it was pretty careless of you to accidentally flush it. A wry sort of smile came to his face. Although, the detective added, I suppose the question of who flushed it is another matter entirely. Osawa was at a loss for words. Someone had tried to flush his plane ticket on purpose. He was sure of it.
He knocked on the door to Ai's room, but there was no response. It didn't look like she'd gotten back home yet. Osawa let himself in. The stinging scent of her perfume pervaded the room, which was decorated all in white. Clothes were strewn all about, as if to put her slovenliness on display. Slovenliness. She'd been like this ever since they gotten married, and Osawa had long since stopped caring. It must have been I who tried to flush the ticket. He knew she didn't want him going to America, but still, couldn't she have found a better way to get rid of it? Thanks to her, he'd been stuck hunched over the damn toilet, fighting with the plunger. Osawa sat down on the bed amidst the brand-name clothing. Then he spotted something odd down by his feet. It was a gold cigarette lighter. Just when had I picked up smoking? Osawa picked up the lighter and set it on the shelf next to the bed. He started out of the room, but then he noticed a scrapbook on the bookshelf. The rest of the shelf was filled with fashion magazines, so the scrapbook definitely drew his eye. Curious, he took it down and opened it. Suddenly, Kachiwara came barging into the room. "Mr. Osawa," he cried out. "It's your wife. She's gone completely hysterical." "She's what?" "Please follow me." Kajiwara led Osawa to the cafe where I had gone. The instant he opened the door, Osawa's ears were assaulted by a veritable whirlwind of verbal fury. "What the hell are you doing? Hurry up and arrest this man!" The grating, histrionic voice was none other than Ai's. "Ma'am, please," begged the officer she was verbally assaulting. "I just need you to come with me for a while so I can ask you a few questions about the situation." The officer looked nearly on the verge of tears. The strange man, not to be outdone by Ai shouting, added his own voice to the chorus. "Hurry up and find that listening device. She's got one on her, I'm sure of it." "Oh, shut up. Please, please, shut up." He'd only just stepped in through the door, and already Osawa wanted to run away. The cafe was almost deserted. Probably the rest of the clientele had been driven off. What few customers remained were rooted to their seats, apparently afraid of getting caught up in the mayhem themselves. "How dare you call yourself a police officer?" I harped. "This is dereliction of duty is what it is." "Ma'am, please." The officer was in tears now. "To think that good taxpayer money pays your salary." "Ma'am, please." "Recording a conversation without consent is a pretty serious crime," the other man railed. "Not cracking down on that. That's dereliction of duty." "Sir, please." "You know what? Fine. I'll find the bug myself." "Sir, please," the policeman exclaimed again as the man advanced toward I, holding out some kind of electronic device. I recoiled. "Stop that at once. Don't you dare touch my belongings." "Aha, so you do have something to hide." Alright. Kajiwara interposed himself between I and the strange man. "Oh, not you," I groaned. "Why don't you mind your own business and get the hell out of here?" "Yeah," the man agreed. "Mind your own business." "Oh, don't you mind me," Kajiwara replied. "Ma'am, your husband's here." He gestured at Osawa. Osawa hadn't expected to be put on the spot. He stood frozen, speechless. "Now what?" I snarled. "What do you want?" Nothing in particular, I just..." Osawa began to back away on reflex, but I closed in on him. "That's how it always is with you," she shrieked. "You never care one whit what I do you? And you know what? That's fine. But it wouldn't kill you to show a little concern when I'm under attack like this."
You're her husband, the strange man demanded. Look, someone's planted a bug on your wife. Could she be caught up in something big? Tell me. Why? Why are they all coming at me now? Sir, please. The officer too turned to Osawa. We just want to hear your wife's side of the story. Now I'm afraid I'll have to ask all of you to accompany me back to the station. Osawa felt like he was standing in the eye of a hurricane that was whirling faster and faster. Are you even listening? Hey, you hearing us all right, man? Everybody, please. Osawa simply stood, paralyzed, and stared as the storm of fury raged on and on. But no matter how hard he wished for some escape, the storm showed no signs of passing him by. I want to go home. I never should have come here. Why? Why did any of this have to happen? It's living so if you said something. So it looks like that's about halfway through here. I'm gonna stop it here. I'll probably continue the rest later tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed this half. There's a lot going on. I don't really know what to say. I hope things end well, I guess. I don't know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!